Vice President Kamala Harris is discussing the root causes of illegal immigration with leaders in Guatemala. It is her first international trip since taking office. The vice president met with Guatemala's president today to address drug and human trafficking, climate change, and the COVID-19 pandemic. She says both nations can meet their challenges by spreading optimism and sharing solutions with the Guatemalan people.
The President and I share a firm belief that our responsibility and our capacity is to give people a sense of hope. We talked extensively about this through the many conversations we've had, including today. The power of hope, the ability that each of our governments has to give people a sense that help is on the way, to let them know that they are seen, that they are heard, that we see their capacity, but we also understand their challenges and their need for support and the resources that any human being needs to be able to survive, much less thrive. So that was fundamentally the spirit behind the conversation that we had.
And CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe is traveling with the vice president and joins me now from Guatemala City. Hi, Ed. So you are with the vice president on her first foreign trip. What is she hoping to accomplish with this visit to Guatemala? The problem is so large and has so many facets. Is there a focus to this particular trip?
Well, good to see you, Tanya. A few things are at play here this week. First of all, this is, in essence, foreign policy week for the Biden administration. She's here in Latin America today and tomorrow. And, of course, the president heads to Europe later this week. Administration officials say this is a part of the push to reassert U.S. leadership around the world and to show the world where exactly it is concerned about bolstering its leadership and rebuilding alliances. She made the point earlier today at the beginnings of her meetings here that the fact that this is the first country she's visiting as vice president should be a signal to this country into this region of how seriously the Biden White House takes it. Lots of things to discuss over the course of today. The root causes of illegal immigration as they are seen by both sides, primarily economic in Guatemala versus violence from El Salvador or Honduras, underwritten by climate change and, of course, the pandemic and the effect that may be having on the economy here, but also concerns about drug trafficking. And in the case of the vice president, she's concerned about corruption, not only in this country, but across the region. That's something the Guatemalan president doesn't think she should be focused on as much, argues that corruption is a broader issue across society, and that the U.S. should also be focusing on prosecuting drug traffickers and human traffickers, or the so-called coyotes, that bring people from Central America up through Mexico safely to the U.S.-Mexico border.
And seem to charge an exorbitant amount, as we saw there in your package. Ed, in addition to illegal immigration, COVID-19 is still a concern. How is the vice president addressing that problem?
That's a good question. We're waiting actually to see if there is more to say about what the United States is prepared to do, not only here in Guatemala, but across Latin America. Last week, ahead of the trip, she called President Giammattei to say the U.S. is sending an initial wave of vaccine. Some reports put it at 500,000 doses. The president didn't deny that in a meeting we held, but also signaled that he's expecting more and more of an opportunity to buy directly from pharmaceutical companies. He said he would like the United States to help him work directly with Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and say, look, they're a valued partner. You should be willing to cut a deal with them directly, not just to take free vaccines from the United States. But vaccine diplomacy is going to be a big topic of conversation here in Guatemala, in Mexico, and for the president as he heads to Europe as well, because the United States is conceivably sitting on the largest, or if not one of the largest, supplies of vaccine, and certainly one that is quite envied around much of the world.
And Ed, as you just mentioned, the vice president will travel to Mexico on Tuesday. What can we expect from her visit there?
Well, she's flying right into an interesting domestic political time in Mexico. Midterm elections were held just yesterday, and the ruling party of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador lost a few seats in the Mexican Congress. He still has control, but now diminished power as a result of these elections. Expect a lot more conversation there about joint U.S.-Mexico border security projects, and as well as more on economic cooperation generally. AMLO, as he's known across the region and in Mexico, known to be a little less diplomatic sometimes when talking about the United States. States, not just with the Biden administration, but the Trump administration as well. I think there'll be great intrigue among the Americans traveling there to see what, if anything, he says or does that might sort of rattle the cages a bit as they hold their meetings. But, it's worth noting as well, Harris, the first American woman to visit any country as United States Vice President, and doing so in this region, which has had its share of female presidents, but not that many. This is something that I'll be curious to see in the coming days how it's received by Guatemalans, the Mexican people, others in Latin America, who will see a woman standing on stage with these two leaders. Not an equal, because she's only a vice president, but certainly a counterpart and someone who's being given full honors as she visits both countries.
Absolutely. Well, Ed O'Keefe in Guatemala City, thank you so much for joining us.